Hi, I'm Jingui. Today I'm going to give a presentation on how short video platforms normalize toxic masculinity. Nowadays, short video platforms such as TikTok and Instagram Reels are now central to everyday information. They shaped what Gen Z sees and comes to value. However, operating on a profit-driven models, these platforms' recommended algorithms can promote aggressive context, especially within manosphere discourse. It is therefore essential to analyze how short video platforms' recommender system and creator strategies normalize toxic masculinity. This presentation examines two mechanisms of normalization: algorithmic of recommender systems and creator strategies. In this presentation, I mainly focus on how toxic masculinity gets normalized on short video platforms. In this context, by toxic masculinity, I mean a set of cultural norms and scripts that equal being a real man to violence and misogyny. By normalization, I mean repeated algorithmic amplification and everyday circulation that makes such norms appear ordinary and acceptable. From the previous study, I learned that Doyce argued that recommender system steers user toward more radical contexts. Lord showed that controversial material spread by exploiting algorithmic affordance and governance gaps, and Tanner emphasized that creators magnification misogynistic idea via stigma templates, making them easy to replicate and share so that humor works as cover, letting this meme seep into public discourse and become normalized. Based on this, I will look deeper into the primary drivers behind the normalization of toxic masculinity on short video platforms, is whether the platform's design and algorithms or creative strategies. New insight will help us understand the algorithmic logic of short video platforms and inform whole person education for Gen Z. Now, I am going to look into two different perspectives of how toxic masculinity get normalized on short video platforms. First, from platform's algorithm line. Soler argued that the For You page trend for engagement face coded playable manosphere context to ordinary user, so toxic masculinity discourse start to look ordinary. Then we turn to the land of creator strategy. Hellops reveal that creators embody the norms in meme templates, creating homosocial currency, among teen boys driving imitations. Both perspectives share the attention economy logic, but they place causality differently in system design versus creator practice. Next, I will compare the evidence for each. I analyzed two journal articles showing that users' visibility gained on platforms can be multilized. Let's say they differ in different ways. Bino argued that For You page algorithm shifts user personal identities from the network self to the algorithm self. In this process, the reputation of algorithmic exposure combined with personal interest familiars audience with specific cultures, such as toxic masculinity. The study asked about how platforms' algorithms reconfigure attention allocation and thereby shape self-making on social media. Using the walkthrough method, Bino analyzed platform interfaces and functions, and they conduct interviews with 14 university students, focusing on self-construction and perception of algorithms. They find that platform's page design makes algorithmic recommendations the user's primary activity, marginalizing traditional social interaction because the For You page effectively makes us interact with the algorithm. They also show that user self-making is no longer confined to a single platform but occurs across multiple platforms. Taken together, these findings illuminate how platforms' algorithmic mechanics enable normalization. The review of Foster and Baker's article shows that algorithmic visibility and aesthetic capital largely reproduce whitened attractiveness-centered masculine inequalities. It poses the research question: to what extent do videos by prominent male creators on TikTok challenge or reinforce traditional notion of masculinity? Based on the analysis of 205 videos produced by the 43 most follow male creators. The author finds that top male creators often use dance to cross gender boundaries, while at the same time leveraging masculinity to capture viewers' attention. This process both subverts and reproduces masculinity and the power structures that underpin it. Moreover, those most in demand and predominantly young and white, which in effect exacerbate existing gender power framework. A key limitation is that study focuses solely on male creators and overlooks audience response to the video. Based on analyze, I believe normalization is primarily driven by Based on analyze, I believe normalization is primarily driven by platform's algorithm as creators' context caters to recommendation algorithm. Here are the reasons. First of all, Bino highlighted that the key point is the algorithm determines the type of video context the user is exposed to. Besides, TikTok has placed algorithmic guidance as its core in an unprecedented manner. The user experience is driven by the For You algorithm. Toxic masculinity on TikTok is convert, enabled by broader sexism and structural misogyny, enabling toxic masculinity to gain wider dissemination on mainstream platforms. While this evidence points to platforms as primary driver, creator-side studies do show how these norms travel. Hoslop noticed that creators use meme templates to generate homosocial currency among boys, normalizing masculinity via humor. Research shows that coded context of toxic masculinity discourse often invades platforms' moderation, creating governance gaps and surfacing in everyday users' feed. In sum, platforms' incentives plus governance gaps normalize these norms. Here is my reference list. Thank you for watching.